Well, that was terrifying. Um, yes, I'm like handling it with my hand. Yes, I'm sorry, but anyway, the innkeepers was pretty freaking creepy. Like sends a chill up your spine, kind of creepy. Now, a lot of people, the common complaint with this movie that I've heard is that it's too. Oh, look at that! My hair is all messy again, as usual. The common complaint with this movie is that it takes too long to get going. But personally, my belief is that a good horror movie, a good scary movie, doesn't just throw in a bunch of freaking jump scares. It doesn't throw in a bunch of, hack and slash gore. Although you can have a good horror movie that has a bunch of gore and stuff like that in it that is effective just in how gory and horrifying it is. But, you know, for me, I prefer the kind of movie that, sets you up. It sets up the story so that you know the characters, you know them very well, so you're a little bit more invested in them. You're a little bit more attached. Ty West knows how to do that very well. Um, and a lot of people said because of that that the Innkeepers was boring for the most part. That it takes so long to get started, like half the movie basically, that it's not even worth watching because it's not even that scary because nothing happens until the end and it's only a little bit that happens and not even that scary. You know what? Shut up. You don't know what makes a good horror movie, so shut your face. You don't know anything about thrillers, so shut up. I mean, if you respect Alfred Hitchcock at all, then you know what he said about, terrifying audiences. And that is held true with a story that sets you up, sets up the characters so that you know who they are, you're invested in them at least a little bit, and when stuff actually starts to happen, it means something to you. It's like, oh crap, now it's, oh boy. Yeah, I mean, you know it's going to happen. A lot of this movie, I'm not going to deny it, a lot of this movie is kind of predictable, but I mean, in what sense are all movies not predictable? I mean, most movies have an air of predictability about them because we've seen these stories before. We've heard these stories before. The very concept of genre, something, you go to see an action movie, of course you're going to see the tropes of an action movie. You go to see a western, of course you're going to see the tropes of the western. You go to see a horror movie, of course you're going to see the tropes of a horror movie. But that doesn't make it predictable in that. It only makes it predictable in that sense. It doesn't make it predictable overall. I still had no idea how this one was going to end, and the way it did end, I mean, it wasn't necessarily gory. It wasn't necessarily, jump out of your seat, jump scare kind of stuff. But it was truly creepy. Like, it was a proper ghost story, I'll put it that way. And I loved it. Go Ty West. I need to get that on DVD or Blu-ray as well. I watched it on Netflix. I might actually be watching a lot of these on Netflix today because even though I have a few of my own, I have some horror movies of my own. I still like. I mean, I want to save those for later in the month because I've got like Halloween and stuff like that. Um, I might check out Invasion of the Body Snatchers later, but for the most part, I'm going to be watching some horror movies that I haven't gotten a chance to get around to on Netflix. And with that, I'm going to look for a horror movie that is somehow related to zombies. It's the zombie movie time. Zombies. And it is 5:58, so 6 p.m. So When I figure out what horror movie I'm going to watch next, I will let you know. I made my decision. I will be seeing Dead Girl. I have never seen this before. I've been told several times that it is an excellent movie, that it is, I don't know. I can't even remember what I've been told about it, really. I just know that people have been telling me to see it for a long time. It came out in 2008, so I guess they've only been telling me to see it for about 4 years. But yeah. I was looking around at other ones on here, and I was just looking at some of the ones that I would think about watching myself. The ones I would watch that I have are not. It's like I've seen them all before. I'm not really interested in seeing them again right now. I really want to save this, 12-hour marathon for just movies that I've never seen before. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and watch Dead Girl. But before that, I think I should address one of the questions. So let me go back and look at the questions. Okay, the questions. Okay, what horror film actually scared you? Well, there are some, it depends on what you mean by scared, because there are some that are just visually disturbing, like the Hostel, like I showed you earlier this month, the Hostel Blu-ray set that I got from Milk Creek. Those are visually disturbing. Like I mentioned, the eyeball scene, that is fucked up. Okay? Like the special effects, the practical effects make it really disturbing. They look really real, and it's just to imagine that level of violence and just hatred toward another human being to me is very disturbing. I don't like it. Um, it's it's scary to see something like that. Scares me. Okay, I'm not ashamed to say it. Seeing something like that scares me. But on top of that, other things scare me too. Like Buried, I recently got on Blu-ray. Being trapped in a box. When I saw that scene in The Vanishing, I was freaked out. To see that played out into a whole movie is a little messed up. But other movies like the Cinema Verite that has come out recently, the in the past few decades, from the Blair Witch not prophecy, the Blair Witch Project, um, Paranormal Activity, but actually the Asylum movie series, really, of Paranormal Entity. That one, it was a complete ripoff of Paranormal Activity. There's no denying that. But if you've actually seen that, it looks, it's just so creepy. It's like I don't, I don't want to say I don't know how they did it, because I know how they did it, but it's like it's still really disturbing. The way that they did it was really well done. It felt real. It felt creepy. There are just some scenes that's just like, oh god, that's fucked up, you know. So Paranormal Entity, a lot of people don't like. I personally like it, and I think that it's a really scary movie. Um, in fact, I've gone and watched Paranormal Entity and 8213, or one of those, 8123, one of those. Gacy House, which, believe it or not, is actually the direct sequel to Paranormal Entity. It has like nothing to do with Paranormal Entity, and yet it is the direct sequel to Paranormal Entity. And then the third movie in that series, yes, there's a third, is Annalise something. Anyways, that's also on Netflix. I'm going to be watching that. The Exorcist, Annalise, The Exorcist Files, or something. I'll tell you about it later, but that's something I'm going to be watching tonight. Um, I've been wanting to finish off the whole series there. It's Cinema Verite, I believe the last one is as well. But yeah, Paranormal Entity, I like it. and I like what they've done in that series as well. Although I'd have to say that it hasn't gone as well so far. Just having seen 8213 Gacy House has not gone as well as the Paranormal Activity series has. As for movies overall that have scared me in the past, um, probably the scariest movie to me was Poltergeist, because there are just scenes in that movie that are messed up. The pool scene, oh my god, the tree scene, there's just some screwed up scenes in that movie. The one where they've got all the dead bodies coming out of the ground. Those are real dead bodies, mind you. And there is like a, you know, people think that there's like a paranormal something going on surrounding that movie because of like the people have died and all that, and you know, whatever it may be, there's definitely something eerie about those movies that extends even beyond the films themselves. And just knowing that those movies come like directly from the scary movies of the past, like Night of the Hunter and stuff like that. Night of the Hunter is messed up too, but in a different way. Um, just knowing where these movies come from and knowing that we're seeing real dead bodies and all that, it just makes it all the creepier. So yeah, I may watch one of the Poltergeist movies tonight as well. But regardless, right now I'm gonna watch Dead Girl. It'll be my zombie film. At least I think that it's a zombie movie. I'm pretty sure it's a zombie movie. We'll see what I think of that one when we get back. See you then. So, Dead Girl. It was certainly different from the other movies I've seen so far. Wow. What the hell was that? Um, that was disturbing in psychological ways that are often not really explored in horror films. And part of me thinks that it wasn't even intentional. Like, that the people who made this movie maybe didn't actually intend it to be taken this way. I think what makes it feel like that is just that, like, movies like this nowadays are not that rare of a thing to find. And the ending in particular, the way it ends, is just like, really? Freaking really? I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just like this movie is all about like the sexualization of women and the problem of the issue of masculinity in our society and how it is seen and how things are changing from what they used to be, obviously, as they should. And honestly, I don't know whether to look at this as like the most sexist film I've ever seen or the most, you know, interesting look at concepts of sexualism and masculinity in the media and in movies and whatnot. Because it really is, I mean, if you look at it from that standpoint, it's interesting. But otherwise, it's just really fucked up. Um, and it's not like scary at all, really. I mean, for a movie about zombies, like this girl that they find that's a zombie, it's really not that scary. It's more just asking questions about like, is would this have happened if somebody found a zombie girl somewhere? Um, would these high school students have treated them like this? Now, uh, I don't know. They would have, but I didn't like it just in that. I don't know. Like I can't say I didn't like it, but I felt like I mean, maybe this was intentional. high school kids. All of them looked pretty much the same. They were all pretty boys and pretty girls, and it wasn't like your typical high school scene. Honestly, it was more like a high school scene out of a Twilight movie or something. There wasn't like nobody looked normal in that movie. They all looked like hypersexualized versions of teenagers, which I mean, that's one thing that makes me think maybe it was like intentional, you know. But regardless of whether or not it was intentional or not, I'm choosing to take it that way because, some people don't think that the intentional fallacy, which is true of literature, like that the author, whatever the author intended, doesn't really matter as long as you can find evidence for it in the text. I believe that extends very easily to film. And in this case, I choose to invoke that. The intentional fallacy. I don't care what the author, what the filmmaker intended. What I choose to see it as is a commentary on our society, on masculinity in our society, images and concepts of masculinity, concepts more than anything. And, just the sexualization of women in our society. And oh, it was just disturbing on that front. It wasn't even really what I would call a horror movie. I mean, it had aspects, obviously, of horror movies, but there was nothing there that was just like, yep, this is horror. It's not scary. I almost feel like I cheated in watching this because even though it's a zombie movie, it's not what I would consider horror, honestly. I don't. It's more of like a commentary on horror movies, really. So, yeah. Those are my thoughts on Dead Girl. Don't know what to tell you. This was messed up. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock, 8 p.m., which means I've got about 6.5 more hours of movie watching to do. I think next up I will watch the Annalise one. Let me find it here, and I'll give you the actual name for it. It's called Annalise the Exorcist Tapes, and of course I will put a little thing here, give you a sense of what it is. Annalise the Exorcist Tapes, reporting to be real footage of an exorcism that inspired the blockbuster 1970s horror film. This feature observes a young woman in the throes of a demonic possession. German Annalise, 23, appears to exhibit signs of epilepsy, but soon the medical professionals called to her bedside are stumped by her symptoms. As the woman's house becomes plagued by paranormal phenomena, a priest is called upon to exorcise the evil spirit. And a plane is going overhead, and it's raining outside. Really creepy. Not really. Well, the sound that it makes when it flies overhead is a little creepy, yeah. Anyway, that'll be it for now. I'm going to go ahead and check out the Exorcist tapes. I swear to God, it sounds like a bomb dropping or something. Ah! No. The Exorcist tapes. Catch ya at the end of those. I will let you know what I think. Brrr!